Okay, everybody, let's gather. Hi, Molly. How are you? Good to see you again. I wish you a Molly Christmas. Where's Chris? He ran away, didn't he? Oh, he's doing his own thing. Okay. That's a Dharma couple right there. So when everyone's gathered, we'll start with paying homage to the Buddha, and then we'll take the refuge and the triple gem, and then 5 precepts. After that, I'll give you a 30-minute-ish talk and leave you 30 minutes-ish to talk in silence, to meditate in silence. Let's chant together. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tisaranang kamanang nititang amapante. Panatipata verapmani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adina dana verapmani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kame sumicchācara verapmani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada verapmani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majapamadatana verapmani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Imani panca sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imani panca sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imani panca sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imani panca sikkhapadani silena bhoga sampada. Silena nibbutiṃ yanti tasma silaṃ visodaye. Sadhu, sadhu, Sadhu. So just make yourself comfortable and probably doing a lot of rushing around. Just let your heart slow down, breathe in, breathing become gentle, the body become at ease, of not forcing your joints, not creating pain unnecessarily. So we have a good fellowship, so supportive. I'd like to also welcome Brother Bhante Jan, who's originally from Sweden, and he spent about best part of 5 years work, rest and play in Thailand, then ordained 1 year ago, more or less. Come over here, and he's very delighted what he's found here in Malaysia, in Penang, and also especially here. And the fruits of your labours, which is establishing Bodhi hearts, a spiritual sanctuary and support. We even went to Almsround together, witnessing the kindness of the resident Buddhist population. So it's very privileged to, and a joy for us to see this natural, authentic generosity of everyone. So I'd like to also express gratitude for our hospitality. The Buddha talked in the Book of Sevens. The first thing he mentioned as the thing which will make the life of the Sangha sustained, lasting long, is hospitality. That's the very first thing. And if it's absent, it's a very terrible experience to go to places and meet unfriendly, closing doors. So it's very lovely to be welcomed here. And the benefit of the language, lack of language barrier. Malaysians, I've told this banana, yellow on the outside, white on the inside effect. So the absence of all these difficulties of language, like scripts and difficult languages and culture barriers that we find here in Malaysia, in Penang. So, and someone was mentioning, it's nice to feel like an old face here. It's getting older, I have to say. I look at photos when I first came here, I was quite youthful character. Now getting older to look like an old monkey already. But I was reflecting on the nature of this chant that we give, when we bless, that this is an allegory for a river, very beautiful. The Buddha said, like our Dharma lives also, something like this. Our Dharma life only begins at a certain age. Often before we even come to Buddhism, we're spending a lot of the time creating a self, creating an identity, becoming a husband, becoming a wife, becoming as a mother, creating that identity, or a member of something. So often we're building, constructing, and reinforcing a strong sense of who I am. When we come to the Dharma, it's the opposite. You start with the river going to the ocean, and then you let it all go when it all falls apart. And anyway, these identities all fall apart. When you retire, when you end your career, or your kids leave home, You cease to be a mum, you cease to be a dad in a way. Now your kids are almost as adult, the same as you are. And we have to get used to this idea that with the meditation, you're letting go, you're releasing, letting go of all through your meditations. You're not becoming strong, you're not becoming reinforced. Maybe you hear monks and they say, I've got 25 vassas, and they're very, very proud and puffed up. Well, yeah, you're not supposed to be feeding off of the things with the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha and the teachings and becoming bigger and bigger. You're supposed to be becoming less and less. Bhante was asking me about walking around the market, and I was saying that we have to become kind of like an invisible camera, just walking around at head height. And what about when they're looking at you? I said, well, they're not looking at me, they're looking at an invisible camera. So it's something like that we become more transparent, more evaporated, and more dissolved. So this analogy of the river really works, in a way, when we're beginning our life as kids. Just like the spring bubbling up out of the earth. At that time you're bouncing, you're fearless, and you're joyful. Everything's fun, you can fall. Even if you have a fall 100 times a day. So if you have a fall now, it's a huge event. But in those times, if you went up and said, I had a fall, people are like, so what? They have it a couple of 100 times a day, they fall over. When you're 14, 15, 18, 19, ouch, you start noticing that you can't bounce quite the same way. Whatever you were doing, roller skating or riding bicycles or so on. You can't jump and bounce like in sports in the same way. And we have to go more mindfully, more carefully, not taking so many risks. So we begin very much like this, tumbling, bouncing, rolling, and pushing against the other waters, just like in a school playground, mixing and playing around. And then gradually you start to slow down. And we start coming up against obstacles and crashing and meeting waterfalls. And we have to learn to go round and become creative. And then we have broken hearts, or you go into a place, the water flow slows down or even stops, or even dries up. And you realize this is a dead end. And you have to find your way back. Or you have to turn back into rain. Have to become like this humid atmosphere and like a cloud. And then you have to rain and fall back down into other streams. And you have to join a group, a club. And this contribution, these many tributaries, they all join up. So this analogy, it's something like Metta, our life force, spiritual life, is taking many shapes and many forms. Or look at the fruits on the tables. They all started off as water. Now look at them. They turned into rain. The rain came up into the roots of the trees. They came up into the trees. And now look at it. It's a banana. It's an orange. Or it's something else. It's a nutmeg. So it's all the same water. goes up into the clouds, rains down. People are sitting in their cars, they see the rain torrenting down, they see it from within their cars, but then they go home, and the first thing they want to do is to have a shower. So they have a shower. Terrible rain. And then they have to watch out for the water on the floor. A few droplets can kill you. You go to the refrigerator to get some water. So it's very strange. And even the body is filled of water, or it's made of 90% or 95% water. So the way that the flow is something like our breathing as well. We have to be very careful that what we are looking to do, what we're aiming to do, is to dissolve. In the analogy of the river flowing down, it fills up the deep sea. Yata wariwa pura paripurenti sagarang. Sagarang is the deep ocean. Just like the rivers contribute together and go down and fill up the deep ocean. Imagine when you're doing Dāna, you might think that there's 14 of you here to do this, but there are 3.5 million just monks over in Thailand. And for every one of those monks, there will be a group coming together, just like rivers contributing together. In Myanmar, 3 million or more monks, monastics. And as you go around to Bhutan, to India, Tibet, Australia, Singapore, Taiwan, Korea, millions and millions from every country, millions and millions of monastics. Even something like Tzu Chi, they have 10 million members. These are all rivers of kindness, and they all go together. And then it says something like Yata wariwaha pura paripurenti sagarang ewa mewa itodinang petanang upakapati. Okay, so it does say something like feeding the Petas, but the Petas are all the craving of the regular people who are there just thinking me, mine. I don't like you, I don't like you. But we are dissolving that amount of negative energy just by all contributing together. So our little effort joins together. This little effort becomes a stream. Stream becomes a river. The river flows strongly and deeply, removing all these negativities. Doesn't remove it all, but it helps calm down the rivers of humanity. So important. How many people are just getting things down the market for getting it for me, or my group, or just my family. So this is offering to a bigger family, the Sangha family, greater. This is why it's greater merits. So we've got to be careful what we feed and what we react and how we respond. This is one of the great beauties, and it results in this becoming one, becoming sukhang, balang. Are you one no sukhang balang? This is long life. There's nothing longer than the spiritual depths of the Dharma. Dissolving in the ocean. it's not just looking at yourself like, I will live till 85, I will live till 90 or 95. It's not looking like that. It's dissolving the sense of being any age at all. Or that one which belongs to your identity. So as we dissolve the identity, we even get rid of this, or dissolve the sense of how old I am. Because you're not thinking of those ways, of just me. You're dissolving. So many of us take on a new name. We give up who we thought we were. So we give up that who we were, who we are, who we will be. Or who we were a long time ago, or what we will be in the future. So these transparent cameras don't have any past, don't have any present, don't have any future. So trying to become a dissolved water droplet. A water droplet in the ocean of the Sangha, ocean of merits. It's a very beautiful expression. One Thai person said, "May you rest deep in the ocean of merits." Last week, James was asking about anger. A lot of people experience anger. I was talking about that. So I thought I'd tell one of the stories from the suttas. This is a story which has been told many times. But it's a story of the king's castle, and the king left and gone on some business, and while he was away, there was an empty throne in the room. All the guards were chatting and relaxing, because it's a bit of time off, because the king was away. And in walked this dirty, disgusting monster. Plodded in, sat down on the throne. All the soldiers and all the guards suddenly reacted. They said, "Quick, quick, get the weapons, get the weapons." So they rushed over. Sound the alarm, sound the alarm. The monster immediately got bigger and bigger. So they said, "Get more weapons, get more weapons. Get the sub-automatic machine guns, get the bazooka." And they said to the monster, "Get out of the seat, you don't belong here. You horrible monster." By now his head is touching right up by the ceiling. He's swelling up so huge. So huge, so big. So they said, "Phone the king on his cell phone." So they beep, 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 phoned the king. They said, "There's a monster here. Come back." So the king beep, 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 called a grab, came straight back. And then he walked in and took one look, and he went, "Oh, I know what this is." So he said, "Look, just put the weapons away." So the monster immediately shrunk a little bit when they put the weapons away. So the king said, "Why don't you all just relax?" So they all relaxed a little bit. The monster shrunk a little bit. So the king said to them, "Have you offered our new guest any food?" And the guards all shook their heads, and the monster shrunk a little bit more. "Have they offered you a cup of tea?" asked the king to the monster. The monster shook his head and shrunk a little bit more. All the while, the monster getting tinier and tinier. So they got a pizza, a cup of tea, And the king asked him, has anyone offered to massage your feet? And the monster shook his head, all the while tinier and tinier and tinier. By this time, the monster is a tiny little thing on the throne. Tiny, tiny little thing. The king said, we can get you a tiny little cushion as well. So we've got a teeny weeny little cushion for the tiny little thing to put his head on and relax and rest. Little tiny little monster popped off across the floor and vanished. So the kings turned to the guards and said, don't you know what that is? They said no. And the king said, that's an anger-eating monster. If you react back nastily and negatively and aggressively towards the monster, it will get bigger and bigger and bigger. So sometimes anger's really like that. That's a lesson. So if you have anger and then you say, I'm really hating that person and I'm hating the anger, it's going to bigger and bigger and more solid the more that you fight with it. So we also shouldn't judge anger. When the question was raised last time, it was couched in the sense that this is an evil thing. It's unwholesome. So it starts to become an obstacle. So we have to become friendly. There was a teacher that said to me that anger is a really good friend. It will teach me many things. I remember that in Myanmar on retreat. Someone was saying, I can't get rid of this anger. And the teacher said, it's going to become your best friend, one of your best teachers. It will be with you all your life. You'll learn so much from it. And you're trying to get rid of it. So this is a very good lesson. We can become softened to it. We can befriend it. We can investigate it and listen to it. It will teach us a great many things. So this is also something about skillful means and the right view, the right aim, the right concentration, good energy and good effort, good mindfulness, also about actions or about speech and about livelihood or lifestyle. So thank you very much for inviting me to share for inviting me to share a little bit about Dharma. I'm sure you'll be having a lot of questions or a lot of thoughts and before we go into meditation. So if you'd like to ask any questions, you're very welcome. Or even Brother Jan here. Anything you'd like to comment or any observations. And then you can have a quiet sit and breathe and listen to our bodies. Listen to the moment. Time is unique. I've got a new name for Bodhi hearts. It's the realm of the hungry goats. They're always chewing all the plants. So you've been reborn in the realm of the hungry goats. So when you're reborn in the realm of the hungry goats, you don't have to be afraid of the goats anymore. You can just be friendly with them. As you get friendly with them, they will get tinier and tinier and tinier and then run along away. I've learnt to speak goatish now. I was upstairs and there was the rain and the thunderstorm coming, rumbling, and I could hear one little goat making a sound like "eh." And I thought, I know what that goat is saying. It's saying, Mom, where are you? I'm lost. Rumble, rumble. No translation needed. So we all started off as children like that. And in a way, we're all holding each other's hands and walking each other home. Okay. Remember, what we're doing is helping each other dissolve, helping each other relax, helping us be invisible in a way, transparent. So there's a question. It's a great question. Is jealousy a part of anger? Well, the answer, firstly, is no. And anger is different. There are 10 of these main categories of emotions. Jealousy means something. I'll give a definition of it. And envy, which is close. Envy means I want what you have. But there's a way to get it. I'm just envious of you, of what you have. I'm envious of your car. But I can ask, where did you buy it? So I can find also how to get one. But jealousy is, I'm going to smash your car. It's, I don't want you to have it, what you have. You know, you're very beautiful, but I'm going to throw some acid in your face. But envy is where do you get your hair done? That's envy. But anger is very different. So just that, like saying, why did you park there? And it's usually about boundaries. Stepping over boundaries. Disrespect. But all of those three, which are kind of similar, all come from interpretations, which we mentioned last week. So once it's been an action has been interpreted as, for example, that's not fair, we have that interpretation. It's not fair that you've got that car. Then the other reaction comes about it. All three have in common that they don't like what's happening. They don't like what's going on, what's observed, what they were experiencing, don't like what they're seeing or hearing. So one reaction is to try to get rid of it. That's jealousy. Often, macharya, these two are issa and macharya, envy and jealousy, in Pali. It's often translated as stinginess, macharya. It just happens to go together. Often people who have this condition of mind often are also stingy, they're not generous. So it goes together with ego as well, pride. Is that the kind of area of your thoughts? So the question coming up is to do with the strength. Is anger stronger or is jealousy stronger? whether the anger will be quick to come up but quick to go, but the jealousy will last a long time. So that was the question's tone. And it depends. So that can also be to do with planning. So the anger can come up, but the planning and the response, the consequences, if there's jealous consequences, well, it can come from both. So, for example, if there's a murder case where someone planned a murder, but the original reaction could be anger, but then the planning comes afterwards, which is more cold, thinking, planning. But I don't think you can generalize on the strength. Sometimes someone can be really jealous, and then you can have lightweight anger. I could just be irritated about a small thing. Why is this writing on this whiteboard here? That's a very small amount of anger. But I could be really jealous of someone's got their robe, a monk has got some robes that colour, which I'm really jealous of. And that can be huge, for example. So jealousy can be very strong, or anger can be very strong. It depends if it's fed. But I think you said last week you remembered that you had much more of this when you were younger, not so much now. So we need to look at our own experiences and reflect. So the question that comes up is, so how do we deal with it? So with the Eightfold Path, so anger only disappears completely on the anagami level, third level. So it's very high. So we can expect to be managing and experiencing these emotions quite a lot. Yesterday I was showing the Venerable Jan the school books that I prepared for school children in the Philippines. There is, for example, a whole book which is written by two practitioners of mindfulness, where it's only on how to manage anger. So it was given to teenagers. It asks you what kind of anger style do you experience, what angers you, and how do you respond? Do you go to your room and sulk, or do you shout? Do you bang the door? Do you write letters? Do you break things? Do you grind your teeth? There are many different ways. There's not just one. People have different anger styles. So you could take a book like that and you can work through that book. And I look at the questions and look at the comments. It's an actual workbook. It helps you to become more rational about your emotions, rather than just being emotional or acting out emotionally. I got more or less 100 of these books, including things like envy, jealousy, anger. They're there. Because this is a kind of mindfulness. It's also a kind of training, but it's a raising up of awareness. You don't have to necessarily know answers, but you can review an event that happened and say, well, what did I do? Why did I react like that? Why did I shout at that time? That's one. So it does depend on the situation. You're asking how to deal with it. So there are many different types of situations, many different types of anger. It depends on the situation, how you respond. There isn't an umbrella one way. But attacking it and rejecting it is never work. You can just cool it down, put it to one side, and then come back to it when things are more calm, and not put it into the speech like we have in the fourth precept, harsh speech, cussing or abusive speech or gossiping. Those are all come from So the question or the comments come up that this always has an unpleasant feeling. So yes, all of the 10 main unwholesome states have, they all have dukkha. That's why we're trying to convert them. It's called the taming of the lions. So anger or hate is the opposite of metta. Jealousy, unhappy with it can be converted to saying, I am happy with what you have. Mudita, correct? So the more that you cultivate, that you're going to find a reduction of jealousy and anger by cultivating metta. And also it comes back to this question of prudence that I mentioned last week, sati sampajanya. It's realizing, okay, I'm interpreting it like this, but there may be other ways to look at it. Maybe there are other things that I don't know about yet. So you can have that sort of a choice of 8 reactions instead of just the one where I'm super right, the other person is super wrong. Maybe we can look at it in different ways. Like we can be like water, we can be flexible. And we can go round an obstacle rather than cracking it as like a rock cracks a rock. We can be water and be flexible. So the question comes up, does condescending mean arrogant? Or does it mean arrogance? So condescending means you're looking down. You're with downwardness. Arrogance means that you're putting yourself up high. Arrogance and conceit. Mana ditthi. It's a puffing up. It goes together. Ego, mana ditthi, arrogance, conceit, and the jealousy and envy, they're all very closely linked together. So with someone with specialist knowledge or a high position has to be very careful. Or a lot of learning. So the ego can become inflated, looking down on others. They think they're very super special and high above everyone. So our actions need to become humble, see that you're not special. Like all these people with intellectual qualifications, Now they're getting threatened by artificial intelligence. Previously they thought, I'm the only one with this knowledge in the room. Well, now suddenly everyone's got access to that knowledge. And it's even 100 times more clever. So we have to watch that. And answer your question. Condescending is the action or reaction that comes from arrogance. That mind state of arrogance. Okay. So let's all meditate in our own personal ways. I'm not going to give you one single guided method. I'll respect your practice. Follow your main practice. Comfortably, confidently, calmly. Whether you're a nose watcher, a lip watcher, ear, nose and throat watcher, or a belly watcher, a scanner, or a Metta radiator, whatever is your practice. A casino visualizer. Just be here now. Let all the issues dissolve into the ocean. You already know enough. Just be empty. Nobody home. Be here now.